안녕하세요. 다시 만나서 반갑습니다. 내 이름은 아이위진입니다. How's that for a Korean intro? Who would have thought that? An Iowa guy speaking Korean, but it's a long story. It's a long, very nice story. Subject of a different video. Today I want to talk about my 686 Plus from Smith & Wesson and my obsession with different types of grips. My grip obsession is second only probably to my obsession with engine valve covers. I'm kind of a gearhead, and Ford small blocks is what I've always owned, and it seems like I'm never satisfied with my valve covers, and I keep changing them, which is stupid. This is equally as stupid, but I just thought I would show you the collection of grips I've tried out and actually used. This is one of my carry guns, as I mentioned before. This is it's a 686 Plus. It's the 3-inch barrel. All right, and it's a L frame. Now, like most of you all, if you're a gun person, at some point you turned on Hickok 45. Before you buy a gun, you watch his video on the gun just to see what you think, what he thinks, and get your own reaction to his video. Well, he's a big boot grip proponent. Okay, and what this gun came with stock, these are kind of dusty here, is these rubber grips, and quite frankly, they're very comfortable. They're hard rubber, not soft, which I like, and I was okay with it for a while. Watched one of his videos, and I'm like, I have to get me a pair of boot grips, because you can see these are, I'm not going to put these on here, but they stick down and cover the bottom of that frame there, and then the back strap is covered by the back of the grips. So, for target shooting and just general use of the gun, yeah, those are great grips. Problem is, if you conceal carry this gun with these grips on here, the rubber sticks to your shirt. That's kind of uncomfortable. Plus, they're just, a half-inch longer than they need to be, so they stick out more. Plus, at the time, anyway, when I was a newbie, I thought, well, rubber grips aren't cool. I got to get something custom, right, for these. Well, one of the first grips I bought was these rosewood birds. Now, I did not get boot grips the first time. I'll just kind of slip these on to show you what they look like. All right, sorry. There we go. Okay, so, I thought that was the cat's meow initially. What bothered me is they're still longer than they need to be. As you can see, that's about 3/4 of an inch down there, sticking past the bottom of the frame. I did like that they're not rubber and they don't stick to my shirt. I think they're attractive, so I'm tempted to put these back on at some point. These are from Altamont Company, and they're down in southern Illinois, I believe, which is where I used to live. I'm sure they're good old boys. Make some pretty good products. These are similar to the grips that came on my Talo 629, although they're not as glossy, and I actually kind of like that. So I'm cool with these grips. I think they look good and stuff, but yeah, that butt always just stuck out a little bit too much for my taste. So then the next pair I got was similar to these. That's a long story. Okay, these are from Altamont also. This is their silver gray color. I don't know if that's the technical term for it or not necessarily, but I wanted something a little different than rosewood. I think these look really good, actually. It's not my first pair. The first pair I ordered, had a medallion up here, Smith & Wesson medallion, and it was installed crooked, and it looked really stupid. And I can imagine that is pretty hard to center those and make them perfectly vertical, and probably in a production environment, you know, things happen and stuff goes crooked, and most people aren't as anal as I am, but I didn't like them, so I emailed them and I sent them back, and then they sent me these. A couple years had elapsed, I believe, but these are kind of a slightly different design. And what I didn't dig about these was, I hope my camera can show this, but they're machined, probably CNC machined, which is really stupid because they're not mirror images of each other. Like, they have this checkered portion, and then there's an uncheckered bit down at the bottom here. Well, they're not the same height. Okay, so I know I'm totally ridiculous, but I thought that was stupid too. So I emailed them. I said, well, thanks for the replacement grips, but these like don't have uniform checkering. They differ from each other. And they're like, oh, sorry about that, we'll send you another pair. And they were exactly the same. Now that I'm a bit older and wiser, it doesn't bother me as much, and I've been running these on the gun here lately. Just, I like the color, and it is a nice product. They finished it well. If you look at each half individually, it's very nice quality workmanship. The checkering's great. It's not real sharp. It doesn't hurt your hand when you shoot it. Of course, they're boot grip style, so I'm digging that. So these are actually pretty good, and overall, I would vote thumbs up to Altamont Company. I think they're a good company, and they put up with my horse shit for a lot, so that's worth something. At some point, I bought these grips that are not natural wood. This is a composite material, and I believe the company name is VZ Grips. They may even be G10, if I remember correctly. It's kind of hard to tell. They did a good job. It looks like wood, but it's harder, and you can just tell it's not natural wood. But I think it may be G10, like they use for knife scales. Okay, and sorry, these are a little snug fit to get on. That'll work. Okay. Again, the model I bought were not boot grips. However, they're shorter than normal full-length grips, and so they almost count as boot grips. In my view, they taper off nicely, and they don't really stick out that much. So I was happy with these, basically. I guess ultimately I ended up not liking them because this checkering is very aggressive, and when I shoot it, it feels weird. However, you do get a good grip on it, you know, but it can be a bit abrasive, and I'm not trying to sound like a mama's boy. I mean, it's a 357. It's not supposed to feel nice when you shoot it, I guess, anyway. But I just didn't really care for the feel of them, and then these finger grooves kind of didn't match my hand size. All right. I want to like these. They were kind of expensive, and, you know, I think they're cool, and they look decent, I think. One thing that pissed me off about these grips, this is extremely dumb, but I had these grips on. I had my gun in my inside the waistband holster, and oh, well, that's okay. That just reminded me of the other thing I don't like. This rubs your skin raw on your stomach if you appendix carry. They're very sharp, and you know, you just get a little abrasion there, and it's not real comfortable. Well, consequently, I ended up taking my shirt, my t-shirt, and since I was at home here, I just tucked it inside the butt of the gun, you know, so that I had t-shirt between the skin and the butt, and that way it wasn't as uncomfortable. Well, at the time, I was cleaning some rifles that I had, and I pulled out my 1944 M44, okay, which is a Mosin Nagant model. And the thing is, actually, you know, it wasn't that gun. It was a Russian SKS. That's what it was. I think it's a 53. All right, and I got that thing off one of these auction sites, and the damn thing is flawless. It had that beautiful deep red color stock, and it was flawless, and all numbers matching. And I go and pull that thing out of my gun safe, and I don't know, I was shutting the door or something, not paying attention, and the butt of the rifle hit the exposed checkering on this grip, you know, the other side, because I had my t-shirt tucked in, and it scraped all the finish off the butt of the SKS, and it really pissed me off. And like I said, I'm anal to my own detriment. That scratch bothered me. You know, it was fairly minor, a couple inches long probably, maybe an inch wide, scraped off there. And so I started researching how to repair the old finish on those SKSs, and it sounds really easy. You use denatured alcohol, I think it was, and dab it on there, and then the finish kind of runs back together and covers up the blemish. Well, I should have left it alone. Like everything I do, I made it worse, and I made a hell of a mess out of that butt stock on that stupid SKS. Ended up trying it again, and I kind of made it look okay. So I guess as I'm getting older, I'm getting less anal, and that doesn't even bother me anymore. But that's why I initially took these grips off. They're just too rough and coarse. It's a good idea, though. I like G10. It's good material. So after that, I spent some more money, and I bought these Hogue Bantam grips. And I think they're real wood. And I believe that's called Pau Ferro, unless I just imagine that. But basically, it's something similar to walnut, probably from South America. I just noticed I chipped it right there. Oh, that's a bummer. I don't know how I did that. Little piece fell off. Well, okay. I was going to say these are pretty much my favorite grips. Now that I've chipped them, maybe not so much, but that's just God testing me again to be a little more relaxed about stuff. These are boot grips. Intermediate checkering. It's not wicked like the VZ grips, and it's a little more of a deeper checkering than the Altamonts. Okay. And I like the color of that. I like it better than rosewood. I liked it way better without that big ass chip in it right there, which I don't know how that happened. But maybe I'll be a man and just toss it up to, normal wear and tear with usage. But yeah, these are really good grips. Hogue's a good company. They make some nice stuff, and I've actually got some grips for my Ruger Alaskan from Hogue, and when I got them, they were a little ill-fitting, and when I emailed them, they're like, "Oh, that happens. You know, there's variations in the frame." It's hard to believe, but they blamed it on Ruger, and they said that the frame varies from gun to gun, so it's hard to make standardized grips for them. Don't know if I buy that necessarily, but anyway, they told me how to sand it down and then just reapply some kind of wax, and this isn't really a clear coat finish or anything like that. These are similar to the Ruger ones. Like, for example, I'm a little surprised that that's so light colored right there. It's almost as if, I guess what I did was I knocked the stain off too. On my Ruger grips, I was able to just take fine sandpaper and sand it down, and then I put like car wax on it, and it looked just like the factory finish. These I'll probably just leave alone, since I learned my lesson on my SKS. I'm no woodworker, that's for damn sure. Okay, so if it were me making a recommendation, which I'm really not, I'm just telling you what I've kind of found to work for this gun, for me. It's either the Hogue Bantam or it's the Altamont boot grip. I like the Hickok made a big deal out of this too, and I guess when I tried it, I'm sure he's like 6'8". I'm sure his hands are bigger than mine. My hands are large, medium large, I guess. But what I do like about boot grips is that I don't, I put the pinky down there, and I kind of prefer this 2-finger grip style. So, it's not quite possible with the VZs, although, it falls down here and it kind of hits on that point with my sized hands, right? And that's why I'm not fully impressed with the VZs. Okay, but anything works, really. I mean, I'm not that picky with the feel of the grips. It's mostly how they sit in my holster and how much they make my shirt stick out. So, given that, boot grips is the answer for me. And, in terms of the slight variation in the right and left-hand sides, like I'm looking at this right now, and quite frankly, it's hard for me to even tell, but when you have it installed and you look at the butt, oops, sorry, I don't have the screws in here, but you take a view looking at it this way, and you can tell that there's a little bit of difference there. And then this side where my thumb is kind of flares outward funny, and this is more rounded off. So for all I know, that was intentional. Like, that's where if you're right-handed, that's where your fingers ended up. So did they put the flare in that on purpose? I highly doubt it, although I thought they told me they CNC machine these, and if they do, then I don't see why you couldn't make a mirror image of, the first side you machine. Maybe there's more to it than that. And I'm no machinist, and I'm no woodworker, so I kind of feel bad I put Altamont through the ringer on these grips and finally annoyed them to the point where they told me they can't help me anymore. So, anyway, for me, they make good grips, and like I said, you look at either side, and they're very high quality. There's no mistakes in the checkering, and the finish is even. And anyway, I dig the silver black color. I think it's pretty cool. And I'll say that probably for target shooting, the original rubber grip was probably the best thing to use. It does absorb a little more recoil, etc. But boy, this crap just attracts a cotton t-shirt like you wouldn't believe, and it makes it difficult to remove your gun. You pull your shirt up and remove the gun anyway, but I guess part of it is just that the shirt clings to it, so that it's more noticeable when you're packing the gun with these grips on it. Plus they're a little bit longer, so it's just not a good thing, I don't think, unless you carry outside the waistband. The black rubber grips actually look okay to me. Like I said, this is the first handgun I ever bought, and when it was new, I thought the rubber grips were kind of like not good enough for me, and I've kind of later relaxed on stuff like that. But anyway, that's a look at the Altamonts. I think they make a good product, and functionally they're hard to beat. Second place would go to the Hogues. One thing I noticed on these Hogues is, let me put the other one on because it makes it more noticeable. Come on, get on there. All right, there we go. So one thing that always bothered me is these are like 0.5 millimeter too short, the grips are, and so that the little bit of frame, you can feel an edge on there. And I mean, let's face it, it's negligible, and most people wouldn't give a crap about it, but that did bother me a little bit. It'd be better if they were just a tad too long, you know, but perhaps people are right when they say that, you know, the frames on these things don't always work out to be the same dimensions, but I mean, it's fairly noticeable. And I would think, you know, a forged or cast, probably Ruger's cast, these are forged, I think. I would think that they turn out to be the same dimensions every time, you know. But that tiny criticism notwithstanding, these are good grips, right? And I would recommend those too. In terms of the full length Altamonts, sometimes I put these on, and probably the reason that I'm kind of bothered by it on my gun is I have the 3-inch barrel, right? And these just are a little bit too long, so that the visual's not there for me. You know, it makes the handle look longer than the barrel, and I think it looks a little stupid. I don't think it's a huge deal either way, but one other note is the Altamonts use these pins, one of which I just dropped. It helps for alignment when you put them on. I haven't seen any other manufacturers use that. For example, the VZs here, they don't use pins. The Hogues don't use pins, and they're plenty stable on there. So that's just one minor difference, and you know, putting the Altamonts on is easy enough. The pins don't really make it hard or anything like that. Although it would be bad if you lose the pins, which I haven't done yet, but I've got a couple models of these, so I've got extra pins, I guess, basically. But that's Altamont company, made in Southern Illinois, if I remember correctly. I used to go to school in Carbondale, Illinois, and people down there work hard and do a good job, and I like to support this company. So even though I harassed them for a while, I hope they understand they make a good product, and sometimes I'm just a jerk. Okay, well, I guess I rambled on long enough. Thanks for putting up with me and my broken Korean. I don't really have a closing. I guess I can say 안녕히 계세요. That just means goodbye. But I do appreciate you watching my videos, and you know, one of these days I'll pick up my game a little bit and try to get some more interesting content out there. But I know people are really into revolvers these days. I did have you know, the review video I had for this, and my 629 has more views than anything else I've ever done, so I guess that's where the interest is, and I agree with that. That's where my interest is. So maybe I will try to do some shooting videos and you know, some other content that involves firearms, because it's one of my big interests. I have a lot of interests, and so I feel that maybe when I make a video, my attention is diluted a little bit because I have too many interests, and you know, from cars and trucks to guns and guitars. I really haven't done any guitar videos. That's one I was planning on doing, though, just to make matters worse, I guess, to make my channel even more schizophrenic. I have some nice guitars, and I'm a mediocre player. I used to be pretty good, but once I had kids, I quit playing as much and kind of lost my chops. But my hardware is pretty good, and I think it's interesting to a lot of people, so I may just do one video and show you my guitars and amps for the hell of it. And as always, I'm trying to do more cooking videos because that's one of my biggest interests, especially Korean food and other Asian food. So just hang with me. I know sometimes my videos are challenging to watch because, you know, I'm not very good at it, I guess, in terms of the production quality, but I am a fairly bright person, and I form opinions based on my own research and experience. And, you know, if it helps anybody to make a decision as to what product to buy, or, you know, grips, guitars, car things, then it makes it all worth it for me. And it's a lot of fun. So thanks again for watching, and I will talk to you all later. Iowegian signing out.